Good afternoon and welcome back to another edition of TATOLI Global. In just 11 days, the Timor-Leste National News Agency, TATOLI, will celebrate its 10th anniversary. And so as we count down to this important milestone, reconciliation has become a central theme in many of our conversations throughout the month. And so with that in mind, in today's edition of TATOLI Global, we'll explore how Timor-Leste's reconciliation process has inspired Fiji as it embarks on its own journey towards truth, healing, and national unity. And so joining us today is Ms. Rachna Nath from the Fiji Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Ms. Nath, good afternoon and welcome to TATOLI. It's a privilege to have you here today.
Thank you, Digna. It's so wonderful to be here, and thank you for the opportunity.
I'd like to begin, Ms. Rachna, if you could tell us what happened in Fiji that led to the establishment of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
Yes, thank you. And so the Truth and Reconciliation Commission was established at the end of 2024 in December. So we had a parliamentary process that passed our legislation, and so we came into being in January of 2025. But our history, Digna, goes back so far when we think about why this has been necessary. So Fiji has had 4 political coups. There's been a period of 40 years of political instability. And what this has meant is that there's been periods of so much pain and trauma, and we've never really had a chance to reckon with our past. And so, of course, we're a country with so much potential and, racial and religious tolerance, but underneath all of that has been pain and trauma that has been a result of the coups. And so our first coup was back in 1987. And that year there was another coup in May and then in September. And then we had another coup, a third coup in 2000, and then the recent one was in 2006. And so even now, the last coup was about 20 years ago, prior to that 25, and then right at the beginning, 40 years. And so in this period, Fijians have never really had an opportunity to go back in time, talk about some of these processes, but things that have happened, human rights violations, and what this has meant, and then never ever has a chance for us to really get together as a country and think about these really deep things that have happened. And so now that we finally have a process, which is a TRC process, it's meant that we can collectively look back with the purpose of looking forward. And so it's been difficult. It's been a difficult process to get here, one that's taken incredible political will to finally do. And now I think Fijians are at this point where there's a readiness to really begin to deal with our past.
Right. Yeah. And how did Timor-Leste's reconciliation journey catch Fiji's attention, and what made it a sort of like a source of inspiration?
Of course. We've very diligently had followed, the process here in Timor-Leste, and Timor is part of the Pacific. It's a big brother in the Pacific, and there have been only 2 other processes, TRC processes in the Pacific. One is Timor-Leste, and the other is the Solomon Islands. And so when Fiji's TRC was being set up, there were a lot of lessons and parallels that we looked to for the Solomon Islands and also Timor-Leste to see what are some lessons learned and how can we strengthen based on what Timor did and what the Solomon Islands did to enhance our process. And so, of course, there was lots to draw from the Timor process. And I think one of the major standouts has been how Timor very successfully was able to gather civil society and people and get that traction to do the work. All you have to do is look back to see the many thousands of survivor statements and community submissions, and that meant that the community outreach and the community engagement was very strong. And that buy-in, I think, the buy-in where Timorese were ready to talk about what's happened, they were ready to confront. And that, I think, has been very inspirational, and we're drawing lessons from that to see exactly how the Timor process succeeded in that regard, and how Fiji can draw inspiration, but of course tailor it to the Fijian experience. And so it's just been amazing to see how Timor has done this, successfully over the last decade or so. Yeah.
And so, what are some of the key lessons Fiji has, in a way, learned from Timor-Leste's experience, particularly from the CAVR and the Shega National Center?
Yeah, I think one of the key lessons would have to be how Timor led the reconciliation process. So in TRCs, first is the truth-telling, and then there's reconciliation. Truth-telling is important because first we need to draw out the truth. We really need to know what happened, why it happened, what the root causes were, what were the historical antecedents that led to an event like a coup or led to what happened here in Timor. So that's very important, and that's part of the truth. So we need to establish the truth first, and your truth, Digna, will be different from mine, and then will be different from the facts. And so that's why truth-telling is so important. But we can't get to reconciliation unless we get the truth-telling right. Or else survivors will feel they're not ready to restore and reconnect and have any sort of reconciliation because they feel like their lived experience has not been validated. You've not dignified survivors through this process. So truth-telling is important. So I think what Timor-Leste did very successfully was that truth-telling process. And I mentioned how many people engaged. The very fact that you were able to gain thousands of people to participate in a process like the TRC shows that the people trusted the institution, trusted your commissioners, trusted the process. So that, I think, in itself was really a key driver in how we drew lessons. And then I think the other part of this is the reconciliation work. Reconciliation at the community level, reconciliation at the political level, which means between leaders and in political parties, the movers and shakers, the people who actually hold on to power. And but the grassroots is so important, Digna.
That's true.
And I think that's what Timor-Leste did really well, to be able to bring the communities that hurt, that were trying to make sense of the conflict and the war and everything that happened, not just with the Indonesians, but also your East and your West conflict. And so it's a history, right? And there's that history is marred with pain and trauma, and it's not easy to go back and have to be able to speak about it. But your process was successful to have done that, and then that community level of engagement and reconciliation, I think, has been where we draw the most sort of strength to say that yes, if this can happen in Timor in this way, then we can surely emulate it in some shape or form, but through the Fijian sort of process and tailor it in that way. And there are quite a few parallels that we have one thing we call the Talanoa process, and it's similar to the Timor process where you roll up the mat and you sit and you have face-to-face conversations, and it's almost a pan-Pacific concept, right? Because you do it here in Timor where you sit across from each other and you have tough discussions and conversations, and in the Pacific we do the same, because face to face, eye to eye, is such an important way in which we as people can engage with each other, and the vulnerability comes through the humility. And I think Timor did that really well, and we're doing that as part of our process. We call it Talanoa, and and that means conversation, but it means one where we're at the same level, eye to eye, really holding space and dignity. In our language we call it mana, which means I uphold your dignity as you uphold mine. And let's have this difficult, courageous conversation. Let's talk about the pain. Let's talk about what has happened in our country, and let's face it together. And so just being able to have that process has been powerful, and we've had powerful stories come through. And of course Timor has done this successfully too. So we have different ways to call it, but I think this is a beautiful part of being in the Pacific. Timor is part of the Pacific as much as you are part of ASEAN, but I think this is another beautiful experience from the Timor process that Fiji also has, and that's where we see the parallels. Yeah.
Wow. In your view, what makes Timor-Leste's reconciliation process a good model for other countries, including Fiji?
Yeah, so I think as I spoke earlier, the model is in the sense that when you think about, you've had several processes, I think, and I think that's very interesting for us. Of course, you had your TRC process, and then you had the legal process, which was around the serious crimes, and then of course you had another commission with the Indonesian process. And so for Fiji, right now, it's just the TRC process. We are drawing a lot of those lessons from Timor around how we could strengthen our TRC process. I think right now what we don't have, which the Timor process had, is your legal process around the serious crimes. So of course, during the coups of 1987, 2000 and 2006 in Fiji, there were lots of serious crimes. But our TRC process does not give us the mandate to investigate serious crimes or any crimes. So we cannot investigate, we cannot compensate, we cannot provide amnesties, and so because we don't have those powers yet, our process is slightly different than the Timor process. What we do have, though, is that our process is purely restorative, which means that we are here to hear people's stories, Fijians who've experienced human rights violations, who've experienced harm and are willing to share their stories. We sit, we listen, we validate. We do that through a hearing process, just like Timor did, where you had public hearings or private hearings. You sit across from Timorese, we are sitting across from Fijians and listening to their stories, validating them. And then if they are ready, then we go to reconciliation. The difference, I think, one of the key differences that for your TRC process, it was between, like, it was the Timorese who were sharing their experiences of what the Indonesians did. So it was from an outside in. Our conflict is internal. It's between, it was the people who were mostly impacted were across two major ethnic groups, and so it means that our process is more internal. So when we talk about reconciliation is between two groups of people, or might be between Fijians and an institution like the military, or might be Fijians and the church. So reconciliation for us looks slightly different than the Timorese process. But I think when I think about parallels, it's the process that Timor did where we can take lessons from. But of course, there's so much around. Also, I must say this: what the Timorese did really well, and as I heard today, is how you were very mindful of being of the gender and child sensitivities around the hearings, but also storytelling and survivor statements. And we're quite cognizant of that in any crisis, especially where there's human rights violations. Women and children are disproportionately affected. We know that women and children also are the ones that are least comfortable to come forward and share their stories.
That's true.
So from what I heard, the civil society in Timor were at the forefront, working with the TRC process in gathering those stories, and we draw inspiration from that because it was done in a trauma-informed, survivor-centered way, and that means that whatever you do, the survivor's interest and protection is paramount. And so I believe Timor did that really well. And so that's another lesson that we're learning and we're inputting in our process, is that women and children are always disproportionately affected, and we need to protect them through the process.
Right. And so who are the main partners and institutions supporting this important work? So I should just give a bit of context. Okay.
We are having the TRC process after 40 years, but there have been attempts in the past to get some level of reconciliation or truth-telling done. And so what it's meant is that along the way there have been institutions and organizations that have not always been supportive of a process like this. So for us to finally have this now in Fiji, set up last year in 2025, meant that there was finally political will, and there were organizations and stakeholders that said, yes, let's draw a line in the sand, and let's actually get a TRC process done. So Digna, it's taken a long time to get stakeholders and partners on board a process like this. And so to answer your question, our stakeholders are civil society, NGOs, our youth groups, our faith-based leaders, and Fiji is religiously diverse. So you've got the churches that are churches networks that are very strong and very supportive of this process. Then you've got the Hindu organizations and the Muslim organizations and the Baha'i and the Sikh, and so you've got the religious organizations, and you've got the women's groups and the youth groups and the socioeconomic sort of NGOs, and so they're supporting this process. You've got donor partners. Australian government has been a strong supporter of this process, the British government and other donor partners as well. And so, and of course the government, because this would not have happened unless the Fijian government threw its support behind this process and actually enacted law to get this done. So it's taken a lot of political will, but also push and support from civil society and political parties and the government to finally have this process. And it's been a long time coming for Fiji.
Yes, as you've mentioned, it's not an easy task, right? So what have been some of the biggest challenges in well, in a way, applying Timor-Leste's experience to Fiji?
Like I said, several things that Timor has done really well that we have tried in Fiji to do. I think some of our major challenges have really been in articulating to people what the TRC really is. I think initially when the TRC set up, people may have thought that we're like a court system, you know, so it's how, and because it's a commission, the way it was understood is that maybe, you know, it's there will be a trial, and the hearing may resemble what happens in a criminal justice system. And so one of our challenges has been to really explain what our mandate is, but also what the process is and what we can and cannot do. Timor right now is looking at reparations, you know, and there's a bill that you're considering, and there's a law that you're considering. Those are conversations that are happening in Fiji. A lot of the people that we've spoken to have asked that this has happened and we've lost so much and we've suffered so much. Would you consider as a commission what compensation would look like? Of course we can't, because our mandate doesn't allow us to, but it's been conversations around, would this be a recommendation? And so I think even in Timor, things, your TRC process started, and then of course you had your implementation sort of institute commission that is doing this work now. It takes time, you know, to realize the recommendations of a report, and I think that's a very important lesson for us, because the strength of a TRC is not the report only that comes out in the end. The strength of a TRC is not just amplifying survivors' stories. That's very important. The strength of a TRC is not bringing to light just what perpetrators, or in our case we call them key witnesses, have done. The real strength of a TRC is those recommendations that sit in the report that are actually realized and actually implemented, because that's what's going to change people's lives. That's what's going to change lives in Timor, and that's what's going to change lives in Fiji. But if it sits on a shelf, and if lawmakers and our politicians don't do anything about it, then it's just a report that's gathering dust. And we've seen this in TRCs around the world. In the Solomon Islands, they had this process, and they released a report, and the government did nothing about it. And so we are mindful of these challenges that exist, and so these are conversations, of course. You know, we are learning from the Timor process, we're learning from the Solomon Island process, we're learning from South Africa. There have been 40 TRCs in the world. Right now in Timor, there's a 2-day conference on TRCs, and several TRCs and experts are presenting what have been strengths and lessons and wins and challenges. And we're the newest TRC, the newest kid on the block, and so we're learning lessons. We're having great conversations with other experts and really beginning to understand that the next 6 months, which is the last leg of our work, what do we need to do to ensure that our processes are as successful as they can be. That's the best we can do. And so I think these 2 days right now that we're meeting here in Delhi has just been amazing to really learn from others in this space, in the transitional justice space, what they've done, how TRCs have worked, especially the Timor process, because we've had great experts from CNC talk about your process and what worked and what didn't work. And so that for us, I think for Fiji is really important, because we're able to see, let's get this right, because we could head down that path.
I'd like to, in a way, shift our focus into a Timorese person, and his name is Joaquim Fonseca. He played an important role in Timor-Leste's reconciliation process, and now he leads the Fiji's Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And so, how has his leadership contributed to this process?
I must at the outset say that we are very incredibly lucky to have Mr. Fonseca join us. He's our chairperson, and he brings a wealth of experience around what's happened in Timor, and I think particularly the fact that he's worked in the international space, also as a diplomat, but also leading your TRC reconciliation processes has meant that those lessons are right there in the room with us, because he's in the room sharing with us what's worked, what hasn't, and he's been quite cognizant that the Timor process is this, how do you tailor it for the Fiji process, because it's important to understand that while there are similarities, there are lots of differences because of just the nature of what's happened in Fiji and what's happened in Timor. And so he brings this experience, and it's amazing to have someone who understands, I think, and there are lots of things that he's done in the short time that he's joined us since this year. It's been 6 months with us so far, and it's been amazing to see the leadership he brings, and also being able to rally people. One of the challenges we've faced, and because our mandate is shorter than Timor's, is that we've not been able to get as much traction with some partners. So the engagement at certain levels, and so that's been his strength. He's been able to get some people who've been difficult to come to the table in organizations and institutions, just based on the fact that he's neutral, but his credibility and having worked in this space has meant that there's a willingness and a readiness on parts of organizations in the country, in Fiji, that are ready to come to the conversation table, and that's been wonderful. Yeah.
And so how has he encouraged collaboration between Timorese experts and the Fijian team?
Yes, absolutely. Well, we're here in Delhi for the international conference, and one of the conversations that we're beginning to have now is how can we strengthen collaboration with CNC and the Fiji TRC, and because of the many lessons, but also the great work that UNESCO has done with your process, right? Around setting up a library management system and your archives and your museum. And so there are lots of things that I think would be great for us to be able to collaborate on. And so that's one part, but I also think there's the technical expertise and knowledge sharing that we could do, and we could certainly have greater and closer collaboration with Timor. So these conversations Digna has started. The last 2 days we've been exploring what that collaboration would look like. We've been thinking about how we could join efforts around research and just see how best we could use some of those technical skills that are already exist here in Dili, and how we could, maybe get some experts from Timor flown across to Fiji and maybe work with our team. All very, very, at early stages now, but I think there's absolutely potential for greater collaboration, especially at this next 6 months, which is the most significant part of our mandate period. And so we're really looking forward to see how we can closely collaborate more with the Timor team.
Of course. Before we wrap up, what message, or is there any message that you would like to share about the importance of reconciliation, not only for Fiji and Timor-Leste, but for the world in general?
Wow, that is a very important question, Digna. And I think when people think about reconciliation, the first thing they think is that I need to forgive. And I need to forget what's happened, and I need to move on. And that's not what reconciliation is about. There can never be reconciliation if there's not been genuine truth-telling, where I'm able to sit across from you and say that this is what's happened, and this is what you've done, and this is what me and my family, my community have experienced. And so for many survivors, whether they're here, whether they're Timorese or whether they're Fijian, this process is fundamental even before we get to reconciliation. But the end goal for Fiji is social cohesion, because truth-telling leads to reconciliation, and some people may want to reconcile, some may not. But really what we want is a more cohesive society, because Fijians have to live across each other. We have to live alongside each other. We have been for over 200 years. Fiji is a country with so many people from different backgrounds and religion and ethnic backgrounds. And so reconciliation for Fijians really is about, I think, being able to truly feel like they belong. And that in itself is what we want. That's the end goal. Right? The end goal is social cohesion. Reconciliation is part of the process to get there. But before that is truth-telling. So it's this whole process. Truth-telling, reconciliation, social cohesion is the goal. But we can never get to this middle part unless the truth-telling happens, and the reconciliation is only important insofar if we get to social cohesion or more socially cohesive society. So what would this look like for Fijians, Timorese, or anywhere in the world where there's conflict? It's about really genuinely being able to confront what's happened. And I think that's the important part, because there's so much pain and there's so much hurt and violations of all sorts of kinds, that if that is not validated in the way, and if that is not brought in a way that where people feel there's justice, reconciliation is hollow. Reconciliation doesn't carry weight, and people will not want to reconcile. And so justice means different things to different people. So for some people, justice may mean compensation. For some people, it might mean prosecution. For some people, it's just sitting across from another human being who will listen and validate their story and say it matters. And for others, justice may look like as a form of moving on, moving forward. And so it's for different people, it's different things. And that's why reconciliation is sometimes a difficult process. It takes lots of talanoa, of conversation, of heart to heart, holding each other in dignity to be able to get to that place. And it's a beautiful thing, but it's one thing that should never be imposed. And healing doesn't require us to forget, and reconciliation also doesn't require us to erase the past. But it does mean that I'm able to sit across from you and understand what you've been through, and maybe together find a way of moving forward. And if that happens now, great. Sometimes it takes years, sometimes it takes decades. It's a process, but it's part of the healing journey. And so for Fiji, the hope is that after 40 years of so much pain and trauma and hurt on all sides, that we could get to a point where Fijians truly feel they belong, they have a strong sense of identity, they feel like they have the same opportunities, that everyone feels that they're able to have a fair shot at life, and that is where home is. And I think, I hope the TRC is able to, you know, be part of that process. The Fiji's TRC will not solve all of our problems, like Timor's TRC process has not solved all of Timor's problems.
No.
But it is the beginning. It is the beginning of difficult, courageous conversations. And we have to start somewhere, Digna. Timor started over a decade ago. Fiji is starting. So much to learn, and we hope that you know, we continue to learn from the Timor process, and that Fiji gets to a point where Fijians can truly feel like this is the country in which we will always belong, and this is ours. And I think and that's what social cohesion will truly look like for us.
I honestly can say that message was absolutely beautiful. Because, you know, the how you constructed the importance of reconciliation, that it's not simply about reflecting on the past, but also in creating a more peaceful future for generations to come. And so in the context of message, TATOLI is soon to celebrate its 10th anniversary. And so I was wondering if it was possible for you to probably share a congratulatory message with, well, our team as well as with the audience, if that's possible.
Oh, absolutely. Well, congratulations. Congratulations to your news agency, and also to all the Timorese that are watching. And what a fantastic milestone to have reached 10 years. You know, to be the bearers of truth, to hold power to account. I know it's not an easy task, but, you know, and in an ever-changing world where technology continues to evolve, that means your organization has had to do that. But congratulations on this wonderful milestone. To you, to your news team, to your journalists, to your videographers, to your editors, to your directors, to everybody you know, in your team. Wonderful. Continue to hold power to account, continue to hold your politicians to account, and continue to tell the truth, the stories that matter. Always going beyond the headlines, because at the end of the day, that's what matters to the Timorese. And that's what it means to be a news agency that you know, truly is shedding light and bringing stories that matter to the lives of the Timorese. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. And so Ms. Nath, thank you very much for joining us today, and for as well as sharing your valuable insights on Fiji's reconciliation journey and the lessons drawn from Timor-Leste's experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Digna, for having me. It's a wonderful opportunity, and I'm just so glad that I could be here in Dili to share this moment, but also to learn from the Timor experience. Vinaka Vakalevu, and all the love from your sister country all the way in Fiji.
Thank you. Right. As we've heard, and as I've said, reconciliation is not simply about reflecting on the past, but it's about building trust, strengthening unity, and as well as creating a more peaceful future for generations to come. I'm Digna Sarang. This is TATOLI Global. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.